The Kudzukian Network presents Grindset, inside the mind of successful entrepreneurs with your host, Cynthia Daniels and Brack.
I think sometimes we overplan things and that can kind of cause a delay or setback. But I would definitely say dive in, get your name started, get your website up, get your business cards.
But you're going to learn from a lot of amazing people what kind of pitfalls that they have, the challenges, but what really made them successful, what made them keep going.
Grindset.
Welcome back to another episode of Grindset, powered by the Kudzukian Network. I'm your host, Cynthia Daniels, Chief Event Strategist of Cynthia Daniels and Company.
And I'm your co-host, Brack, asset-based lender at First Tennessee Bank.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Audrey Townsel, who is the owner of Calyx Psychological Services. And we have another special guest.
Hi, my name is Dallas. Dr. Townsel is my mother.
So we're super excited to have both of them in the building today. We're going to learn a lot about mental health and what it means to really take care of your body.
And we have a psychologist here to do that. You're listening to Grindset, powered by the Kudzukian Network, and we'll be right back after the break.
Grindset on the Kudzukian Network.
Jazz, America's own original musical art form. When did it start? Who were and are some of the major players? How do you distinguish what kind of jazz you're listening to? We talk about the great and lesser-known artists, songs and tunes, the instruments, and the social impact jazz has had on world culture since its beginning at the start of the 20th century.
Riffin' on jazz on the Kudzukian Network. Kudzukian Grindset.
We're back with Grindset. As promised, we have Dr. Audrey Townsel, who's the owner and clinical psychologist of Calyx Psychological Services. Welcome to the studio.
Hey, well, thank you for inviting me.
Welcome, welcome.
Yes, we are so excited to have you. We're going to jump right into this interview because our listeners are very excited about your background, a little bit about the work that you're doing. So the first question I have, tell me about your company and what exactly do you do?
Okay. So I am a full service private practice and I offer clinical psychology services for individuals, families, and couples. I focus on the total person, that's mind, body, and spirit. So my goal is just to ensure that people focus not only on their mental health, but their entire lives so that they can live the best life possible.
Okay.
Now I just want to jump right into it. So on the psychology side, I understand the mind, right? Mm-hmm. But what do you offer for the body and the spirit?
Okay. So you can't function just by mind alone. So when you come to my practice, I'm asking about how much sleep you're getting, how much water you're drinking, what foods are you putting in your body, because that's your fluid and your fuel. And so all of that is important when you think about how you're functioning in the world. I liken it to walking in mud. So when you're walking in mud, it's really hard to kind of maneuver.
Right.
But when you're walking in clear water, it's kind of it's easy for you to walk through. So when you're exercising, when you're drinking water, when you're putting the right fuel in your body, your brain is actually floating in clear fluid now. But when you're not doing all that, you're not getting enough sleep, you're not eating well, you're stressed out. It's like your brain is floating in mud, and then you're asking your brain, okay, now I need you to wake me up on time. I need you to help me think. I need you to help me feel.
Right.
But you're not doing what you need to do to make sure it's floating in clear water. And so that's kind of my focus when people come to see, make sure that we're doing everything that we can to get you to perform at your optimum.
Get out the mud.
Get out of the mud.
I think that's a great analogy. Mm-hmm. And really it makes me think about the people that are listening to this podcast episode. How do our listeners know if they need to meet with a psychologist? I think you gave some great synopsis as to what you do, but how, even like me, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm doing everything myself. How do I know I need that?
Okay. This is one thing that I always tell people. If you keep calling the same person and that person stops answering your calls at some point, you may need a therapist.
Okay.
But that's true. If you are constantly calling people for advice and you don't feel like you're getting the right answers or the right support, then maybe utilize other options. Making sure that you go outside of your regular circle, because they're going to tell you what you want to hear, and because they care about you, your friends and your family, they care about you, they want the best for you, and they're going to be biased.
Yeah, that's true.
And so sometimes you may need an objective voice, someone who's not emotionally tied to the situation, to be able to give you an honest, some honest feedback on the situation, but not based on their personal experiences, but what we know as far as what will help you in regards to coping skills.
Okay. And I love that. And I wonder then if there's someone listening that says, you know what, that's me. So-and-so doesn't answer my phone calls anymore. What's the next step to identifying the right psychologist?
So one, I know a lot of people want to utilize their insurance benefits. So you can always call your insurance company and get a list of providers in your area. And you can also ask questions to the psychologist or to the therapist in regards to what types of services they offer and what types of issues they treat. I offer 15-minute free consultations because not only are you interviewing me to see if I'm a good therapist for you, I need to know that you're a good client for me because I may not be able to help you. And so knowing my limitations also will help the client to achieve their goals much faster and also just more efficiently. But yeah, call the therapist, ask if they can provide you with a consultation and ask those hard questions. You can say, are you familiar with working with people who are entrepreneurs? Are you accustomed to working with people of a specific ethnic background or whatever issues? Are you familiar with working with people with depression or anxiety? So you can ask those questions.
You're listening to Grindset, powered by the Kudzukian Network. We're talking about one, how do you know you even need to call a psychologist? And then two, interviewing your psychologist, asking important questions, just like they're going to ask you important questions about yourself. And so one of the things you mentioned was, I'm calling people, they've stopped answering, right? So that's one indicator. So it's not about mental health in that framework. It's getting an objective opinion about what's happening in your life. So what are some other indicators, right?
So when you start to feel like I think we all have a sense of being in touch with our baseline, meaning like we know, when we're sleeping in bed a little bit longer, we know when our energy is low, we know when we're eating too much or not eating enough. And so when your activities, your mood, your regular life situation is starting to change, and you feel like you're not doing the things that you used to do, and you're not doing them as well, that's when you should start looking at maybe I should consider other ways to address this, and maybe therapy could be beneficial for me.
But what about prayer?
You can do that and also go to a therapist.
Fair enough.
So
it's not mutually exclusive.
That's right. You can do both, right? Get you somebody that can do both.
I just had to ask it.
See me on Saturday, go to church on Sunday.
There you go. Okay. I love it. So obviously this show again is geared to women that are thinking about starting a business, or they're entrepreneurs looking to take their business to the next level. What are some of the recurring issues that you've seen with your just female clients that own businesses?
I think for me and the things that I see with my entrepreneur clients is this idea that they have to pretend to be something that they aren't. I think that we have, especially as women, we have this idea that we have to be lady bosses. We have to.
It's on social media, right?
You gotta be, exactly. You have to kind of be the female version of a man, right? Okay. And so, helping my clients really get in touch with their true authentic self, but also in the entrepreneurial world, I think is the trend that I see the most.
I hope you're not charging us for this.
I don't know.
So yeah, this is all great information, and when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about like the business part of psychology, right? Because you can be a good psychologist and work somewhere,
have to know the business,
or you can be a psychologist and an entrepreneur.
The Chairman's Perspective.
Hi, this is Lee Eric Smith. Let's take a look inside Shelby County government as we unleash some of the views of our very own chairman of the Shelby County Commission, Van Turner. The Chairman's Perspective on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Kudzukian.com, or your favorite podcast provider.
The Chairman's Perspective on the Kudzukian Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Audrey Townsel, owner and clinical psychologist of Calyx Psychological Services, based here in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you want to get your small business groove going, then check out Grindset right here on the Kudzukian Network or your favorite podcast provider.
Welcome back to Grindset. We're here with Dr. Townsel, and we're really interested in knowing, how did you even start your psychology business?
Okay. Well, the truth is, I wasn't even in Memphis when I started my practice.
Really?
I was on an
Okay.
8-month assignment in New Orleans.
Okay.
And I knew I was coming back home, and I was going to be transitioning to a new role with our company, and I was going to be working from home. And so I felt like if I would work from home, I might as well monetize staying at home and
Okay.
open a practice. And while I'm at home, between conference calls, see a couple clients and actually earn money while I'm sitting at home. And so that's actually how I started the practice. Opening a private practice was never a goal of mine.
Okay.
But I just saw the opportunity, and I called my real estate agent and told her to start looking for properties. I flew to Memphis and looked at property, signed a lease, flew back to New Orleans.
Wow.
Started all the paperwork, got my business license, started to register for insurance panels, all while I was in New Orleans.
Wow.
And so when I came back, a month later, I had a fully functioning private practice and
That's amazing.
walked right in the door.
You're just a hustler.
Right. She saw the window. Let me take a couple of clients in between.
Maximize as well.
Have to. You have to.
And let me ask you, so have you noticed an increase in your business due to a lot of the mental health conversation? I think in in today's society, our culture is that we talk about,
Yes.
going to seek help, going to talk to somebody else. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely. And actually today I posted something on my Instagram page, and it's a shirt that one of my clients gave me, and it says "Therapy is the new black."
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we're talking about it more.
We are.
I think we are normalizing the idea that we can seek help outside of our families, outside of the church, outside of our friends. And it's nothing wrong with it. And so I think just hopefully me being a face of, in the community to show that, there are people out here that look like us that can also help us.
Right. And I think for so long, it meant that something was wrong with you if you went out to seek help. So I love that you're changing the narrative.
Absolutely.
Now, how often do you see a therapist, right? Is that a requirement for your profession, or is it kind of a preference?
It's not a requirement.
Yeah.
But I feel like I like to practice what I preach, and yes, I do have a therapist.
Okay.
And I see her more frequently when when I feel like I need to process some things.
Yep.
But if you can imagine sitting in an office listening to everyone else's concerns and issues, sometimes I find that I don't have a lot of time to process my stuff because I'm too busy trying to take care of someone else. And so I have to make the time and the space for me to do that as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so earlier you told us about, how do you find a psychologist, right? And you mentioned insurance. And so when clients come to you, are they all paying you via insurance? Some pay cash? Like, what are payment methods do you accept?
I have a mixture of clients. So when I started my practice, it takes about a year to be added onto an insurance panel. So when I started my practice, I was cash only. And I actually did it at a discounted rate so that my clients, I just wanted to test the waters to see what type of clientele I could get before I was added to the insurance panels. And as I started to grow and I was added onto a lot of the panels, some of my private pay clients that they didn't even want to bother with the insurance, and so they continue to pay private pay. So I have a good mixture of both. I have private pay clients and also insurance clients.
So from a business perspective, what's it like to even deal with insurance, right? Because you see the patient, but you don't deal with them to collect money. And then now you have to turn and deal with the insurance company. That's a whole different beast.
Yeah, I can tell you it's extremely difficult in our line of work as a therapist because we only bill certain services. And, we individual therapy or family therapy. It's only certain codes you can use versus a doctor. They bill for labs, they bill for tests, and all. So insurance would be very helpful for them. For me, my preference is to not use insurance, and I can tell you that I have submitted my letter to resign from insurance panels. So coming soon, I will be private pay only because it's really difficult having to wait to get approval from insurance companies.
Right.
When you know that there is something that you can help a client with, but you're having to justify to someone who is not in your room with you, who doesn't know your client, saying, no, they need this. And they're telling you, no, I don't think so. But if you do, you only have 3 sessions to fix it. And I don't think that's fair to the clients that I see. Some of my clients, and I tell them, I don't even want to give them a diagnosis because some of the things that they deal with are life issues. No, they're life issues. It's like things that we go through on a regular. Why do I always have to give you a diagnosis? Okay. But if you're going to give me an insurance card, it's required that I give you a diagnosis. And sometimes I just don't think that's fair. Okay. And so just out of my own conscience and the care for my clients, I've decided to resign from insurance panels.
Okay. You're listening to Grindset, powered by the Kudzukian Network. You really pretty much answered a question that I've been wondering. What was that first year of business like for you? So I love that you automatically kind of answered that for me. So I'll kind of jump into the next thing. I love that you said it was more of a business decision. You said, why not see a couple of clients and start my own practice? I want to know, how do you then balance your practice, a full-time career, and motherhood? How does that work in your world?
Okay. No such thing as balance. I knew it.
You know I was going to say that. There's no such thing as balance. Okay. I don't believe in work-life balance.
That's honest.
It's harmony.
Harmony.
It's harmony. It's what works best for you in that moment. Like right now we're here. My son's right there.
Right.
That's what works best for me right now. I didn't want to have someone go pick him up. I wanted to do it. So that's what works for me right now. Okay. But I think being understanding and accepting that at some points of your life, work will take precedent.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your family, but it just means just not right now. That can't be the top priority right now. Not that it's not a priority, but you have to juggle what's important for you in that moment. And it doesn't always have to be equal.
Okay.
Tonight, when I leave,
we're supposed to be perfect, right?
Of course. And that's kind of why we have to see because there's no such thing as being perfect. Okay. But like tonight and tomorrow, work takes precedent for me because I have some deadlines to meet. Okay. But when he has soccer, I'm there. That's what's important. I turn my phone off and I'm attention is all on him. So you just have to find harmony in whatever you do. Not balance, but harmony.
Now, how are you using? I mean, and that's beautiful, right? Because now I can use harmony because I just don't believe in balance. Yeah. But how are you utilizing your family unit, your family structure to achieve that harmony?
Yes. Okay, my son is a village child. I say that to everyone. And, as much as I want to paint the picture that I'm a entrepreneurial, single parent, I'm not. I am a co-parent, and I know his father always says to me, like, you're not doing this by yourself, right? Right. And so I think that I'm very blessed. I know when I first started my practice, my sister, who at the time was not employed, she was our living nanny. Okay. His dad moved around the corner from us to make it easy for all of us to kind of make sure that we raise him together. So, and I definitely understand everyone's situation is not that. And when I work with a lot of clients who struggle with not having that network and not having a family, even in the city with them, and trying to be successful in their career. Right. So my advice to them is to, as much as you can, try to find a network, try to find resources. It may not look the way you want it to look. Sometimes we kind of get down and disappointed. It's not from the father, or it's not from my mom, or it's not from, but find the network. It doesn't have to be what you expect it to be or what you want it to look like, as long as you get the goal met and the needs met.
Find the network.
Right? Find the network.
I'm going to repeat that in the major keys. So you're listening to Grindset on the Kudzukian Network. And when we get back, we're going to talk about the future and what's next for Calyx and Dr. Townsel.
R&R on Sports is proud to be on Sirius XM.
So what's R&R stand for?
Real talk and relevant sports issues.
It's racial and relative. We're brothers from the South. We can relate.
R&R on Sports on the Kudzukian Network.
Welcome back to Grindset. We're here with Dr. Townsel, and we talked a lot about where your business is today. But I do wonder, why did you decide to pursue psychology in the first place?
Okay. Well, I think a lot of people expect me to give this really deep philosophical explanation for why I became a psychologist, but I don't have one really. Okay. The truth of the matter is, I went to Xavier pre-med, and I was supposed to be a neurosurgeon. That's why I went to school.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Did a summer internship at a hospital. Went into the operating room. The surgeon cut the woman from, side to side. I smelled the flesh, and I passed completely out.
Did you?
That's the moment I realized that maybe that's not the type of doctor I want to be.
Right.
Fair enough.
And so when I got back to Xavier the following semester, that was psychology was a prerequisite.
Okay.
And when I got in the class, I'd never thought about psychology before, but I then learned that I am a conceptual thinker. I think in stories. And so that's why organic chemistry was really hard for me. All of the pre-med classes were extremely difficult because it was just memorizing things. But I am a storyteller. I conceptualize things. And so psychology really fit for me. And that's where I felt most comfortable. And so that's why I'm a psychologist.
Well, speaking of conceptual thinking, right? And when you think conceptual, what about the universe and energy and chakras and all these different things that people try to lump into psychology?
That is psychology from my standpoint. So I always talk about when you think of emotions, that is nothing but energy. If you think about when you get your heart broken and you feel sad, where do you feel it? You feel pain in your chest and your stomach gets upset.
Right.
That's energy. That's energy moving in your body.
Right.
When I say emotions, that's energy in motion. And so when you talk about the universe and when you talk about energy, you have no recourse but to talk about the impact it has on psychology and people's mental capacity. Think about when there's a full moon. Okay. What do we say when people, are acting kind of different? Oh, it must be a full
moon out. Yeah.
There's no coincidence. It's no coincidence where there's a full moon, the ocean and the tides get higher. So I think when you talk about psychology, you will be remiss if you don't talk about energy, chakras, and chakras are the portals, energy portals in your body that store energy.
Okay. And
being able to kind of make sure those aren't blocked. And when they're blocked, that's when you have difficulty with your emotions.
Wow. I love that. I never even thought about energy in that way. That's heavy. Thank you. Tell me, where did the name Calyx come from? Because it's just something I've never really heard of before.
So there is a personal and a professional reason for the name Calyx.
Okay.
I will start with the personal reason. So I'm in a sorority. I'm a lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha, Sorority Incorporated.
Okay.
I'm in one of the lines that we pledge. We named that line Calyx.
Did you?
With the K, though.
Okay.
But unfortunately, one of my sorority sisters completed suicide right after we graduated.
Wow.
And so after she passed away, we were all left thinking, what could we have done?
Right.
And as a therapist, I guess it was much harder on me because I'm thinking, okay, so why didn't I pick up what was going on with her? Yeah. And so, that stuck with me for a while. And I always said if I was going to go into private practice, I want to be the type of therapist that I would want to see.
Okay.
Because I would want to have helped someone like her deal with some of the things that she dealt with. So really the name Calyx is in remembrance of her and the line and the love and the sisterhood that we share together. Mm-hmm. But also the meaning of Calyx is the outer covering of a flower before it blooms. Okay. The calyx is the hard shell. If you look at a rose, the green heart outer shell shell of a rose when it's still a bud. And the calyx protects it while it's developing its petals. And once it's time ready to bloom and grow, the calyx opens up and it falls off, allowing the flower to bloom. And so that's how I see myself with my clients. I provide a protective place for them to grow and blossom and bloom.
Nice.
And when they're fully grown and when they're ready to blossom, hopefully they don't need me as much. So that's the goal.
That's a beautiful story.
That's a beautiful story on both personal and professional. You're listening to Grindset. Once you see a psychologist, do you need to see that person for eternity, or like you said, can they kind of grow out of you?
Well, I can tell you my personal preference is that people come to me short term to learn the skills that they need to learn so that they can function on their own. I do have clients who come back, just to kind of process some things that come up after they've seen me and they've been successful, and that's fine. But I don't feel like I would be effective and a help if someone were to continue to see me for the rest of their lives. Yeah. That's never a goal for me.
And so, looking forward to the future, how do you intend to grow your practice, or are you good at 20 hours a week and the patients that you have now?
Yeah, so I'm actually in the process now of kind of exploring options of expanding the practice. Right now, I have an intern, and so we're taking it slow.
Okay.
And I think she's doing a great job. And she, I think my purpose in this space is to help develop more therapists for our community. And I think that this is the space that I want to be in. So if I expand, it may not be necessarily expand full time for me to see clients 40 hours a week, but maybe to continue to train other therapists in the way that I provide services, in which I feel is helpful for most people, and expand it as a learning institute.
So have you accepted that they may not be able to do it like you?
Yes, I have, and I think they have too. But that's the beauty of being a teacher and having students that I just want them to grow into who they are. They don't have to necessarily be me. They have to listen to me sometimes, but I want them to be their own person, their own therapist, because that's the only way you'll be able to help people when you are genuinely you and you're connecting with people, in this space where they trust you at their most vulnerable place in their life.
Well, I'm telling you, this has just been such an amazing interview. I cannot thank you again for coming in.
Thank you.
So as we're closing out, I want to ask you two things to share with our listeners. Number one, what's the best advice you've ever gotten? And then also let them know where can I get more information about Calyx Psychological Services?
Okay. The best advice, and actually on my Instagram page, I share a lot of the advice that I get from a lot of my mentors.
And tell us that Instagram page too.
It is Calyx Psychological at Calyx Psychological. That's CALYX Psychological on Instagram.
Thank you.
But my favorite advice that I always say to myself, I got this from my mentor, really when I was laying in a hospital bed with IVs in my arm, with a phone in my hand, trying to text a report.
Because you're Superwoman.
Yes, my CEO and mentor came to my hospital room. I thought he was coming to see me, but he was coming to get my phone.
Wow.
And he said, 99 is still an A.
Wow.
And what he meant by that was I'm pushing myself to be perfect, that I am killing myself physically and mentally, but I'm not seeing that. Yeah. I still got an A because I put in the effort. 99 is still an A. And I have to say that to myself all the time. 99 is the effort that you put in. That 1 point is what other people think. So I'm good with 99. Sometimes I'm good with 90. So
I absolutely love that. And then do you have a website that they can visit as well?
Yes, my website is www.calyxpsychological.com. Again, that's CALYX, psychological.com.
What about a phone number or any other social media where people might want to look you up?
Yeah, so our phone number, our office number is area code 901-413-8663. That's 901-413-8663. And we're also on Facebook, and it's Facebook is our at Calyx Psychological Services.
Thank you so much. Mental health and psychology has been a big theme on our show, from dealing with or interviewing a lot of different entrepreneurs. And so we appreciate you for coming on and sharing insight, not only your journey, but things that may be able to help a business owner here and there. You've been listening to Grindset, powered by the Kudzukian Network, and we'll be right back after the break.
R&R on Sports is proud to be on Sirius XM.
So what's R&R stand for?
Real talk and relevant sports issues.
It's racial and relative. We're brothers from the South. We can relate.
R&R on Sports on the Kudzukian Network.
Welcome back to Grindset. I hope you enjoyed that free therapy session Dr. Audrey Townsel gave us. And a few things we were able to pull out as major keys. One is get out of the mud, meaning take care of your body. Don't pile on with junk food and fast food and all these terrible things for you when you're in a low emotional state, right? Take care of yourself. Mental health is more than just mind. It's also body and spirit. 2 is prayer and therapy are not mutually exclusive. You can do both. Dr. Townsel said you can see her on Saturday and go to church on Sunday. The third thing is get in touch with your true, authentic self, and that's when you can be the most productive. And lastly, as parents, single parents, joint parents, whatever your family structure is, find the network that works best for you. And listen, if you're not feeling great, if you feel like you need help, go see somebody. Cynthia?
So for me, I have a very simple quote, and I think it just touches on so many things with what Dr. Townsel talked about, and just as an everyday saying, it's okay to not be okay. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be superwoman. You can take the cape off and take a moment to yourself and understand, you know what? There are a few people that aren't answering my phone calls anymore. Maybe I need to go and talk to a professional. But remember, it's okay to not be okay.
It is okay. You've been listening to Grindset, powered by the Kudzukian Network, and we'll see you next episode.
Grindset. Executive producer, Epicenter. Grindset is directed, produced, and distributed by Kudzukian.